All right, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Hunter, and I am challenging myself to code out a full app within the next 21 days. So I am working off of projects that I've already put a lot of work into called Nightly. So I'm just going to kind of go through this slideshow a little bit and kind of show y'all where I'm at. If you're interested in the nightly development process, if you want to create apps for yourself, or you want to see kind of what's going on if you are a future nightly user, I think it'd be pretty sick to be able to see kind of what went into the building of this app. So what I'm trying to do right now is it is currently winter break and there are 21 days until the start of the next semester. My goal is to be able to put out nightly at the very least on Apple Test Flight so that it's in beta testing, but I would really like it to be on the App Store so it gets the most amount of work out of the way, and I would be able to kind of put it out there and at least have a base product. If I don't end up going with this long term, then it'd be great for internships. And if I do, then we're going solid, right? So anyways, so this is Nightly. Just gonna go through this presentation and show y'all what's up. So right now what I'm working on is I'm kind of creating this mixed anonymity, and I'll show you what that means in a second. Social media platform for bars, nightclubs, restaurants, and college students involved in nightlife. I think it can really be used by anybody, but I think this is a great niche to start with because of the progress that we've already made. So what we've started with was we began as a data analytics project. So what I honestly thought about doing was I wanted to do some kind of basic data analytics. I'm an economics major, and I kind of wanted to see what are the factors that change the amount of traffic that go into bars, restaurants, and nightclubs depending on what's going on. I think it would be really interesting as a kind of predictive model so that if, let's say, there's a football game going on and I need to predict the amount of staff that I'm going to need for that night, if I'm a bar or restaurant like owner or manager, I would want the most accurate statistics that I can get. And I thought that would be very interesting. But as I went around and as I was really talking to these bar owners and managers, a lot of people were saying that they don't really need, they either already have a software for being able to do that, or they are not really in need of a new software to be able to do that. So, but a lot of them were interested in more opportunities to be able to market their events. So I created this website. I'll actually pull it up in the screen here. And I created this website. I really just have the Figma design up right now, but basically just showing the events that are going on in the area at each bar. I think we got, I think, a maximum of 100 daily active users for a couple nights, 70 to 100 for a couple of nights, but it declined very fast. And I think the reasoning for that was because there's not very much novelty to this. This is just kind of a list. Once you get the gist of the events that are going on, unless you're like a fan of a few of these DJs and you're constantly looking for like new opportunities to see some of them or finding new mixers, things like that, it's difficult to get, not difficult to get people on, but I would personally think it's difficult to keep going back. The user doesn't engage with it very much. So what we've been doing kind of since then is we have an Instagram up. It is, we can pull it up right now actually. So we do have this Instagram up that is, has 1,152 followers, and it's been going pretty well. Like we get a lot of traction, especially on these big bar crawl posts. We get a lot of traction. And so I think from the things that we have put out so far, I think we've learned so far that people like to see what's going on with these. People like to see the events that are going on their social media. They like being more informed about these events. And they are willing to access a website And I noticed that a lot of these get a lot of shares too. So if we see like, especially these bar crawl ones, we have like 500 likes, but we have, let's check. Oh, there are no analytics on this. These usually get just as much, if not more, shares than likes, which I think is really interesting. So when I was thinking about what is the next stage for the app, I was really wanting to bring in some more connection, some more connection with friends, as well as I think uh, the goal that I was really trying to figure out, the, I guess, behavior change, is what would be the interface that would get people, let's say, interacting with each other, interacting with the bars, just whether it's just saying something about the bar, like what's going on, saying something about events, um, as well as being able to show whether or not people are going to these events. I think what's nice about Instagram is that you already have a lot of users that are definitely using the app regularly. I think it is definitely one of the most popular apps among college students our age in the modern day. And so, but at the same time, it doesn't seem to present very many features for especially brick and mortar businesses to be able to determine how much traffic they're actually getting from user interactions. If they're putting out a post, they're paying a social. If they put out a post about an event, they're usually paying a social media manager to do this for them. They usually get only a certain amount of likes. Most of these posts only get like 10 to 20 likes unless it's like a really big event. Um, and and I think a lot of people typically just scroll through these events and forget about them. So I think there's definitely somewhat there's some I so overall I think what we've learned from the things we've put out so far is that people want to know about events. People seem to want to know about events. People seem to want to go to events. People like seem to like to interact with content about nightlife, about bars. I think this is where we see a lot of the success of like the Old Row, the Bar Stool, like a lot of these fun Instagram pages that have a lot to do with nightlife. I think even Yik Yak can partially attribute their success to this. Um, well, what are we gonna do with that? My next project is to turn this all into an app. Our goal overall is going to be to create a space for businesses and clientele to interact. This may seem a little bit broad and hard to grasp at first, but overall, we're really just making it social media that has a little bit more interaction with businesses. But that does mean that we're going to have features that really bring in the clientele that the I think it needs to be an app that's fun to use, that people are just opening in their spare time. This isn't just something that you open specifically to go find your bar. This has to be like constant interaction. You're going to want to scroll, but at the same time, I don't want it to be something where this I want it to be very friends focused, because especially if you're going downtown, I think the thing that would, I think, get me to go out to more events would be seeing that my friends who I personally know are also at the very least interested in going to those events, because otherwise I'm going to have to like pull up Instagram, find the events that I like, send them to my friends, maybe not get any responses or anything like that. And but I think more people would be interested in going to those events if they saw that their friends were going. That's a little bit of a hunch, and this is obviously we're going to be testing some hypotheses here. But then we're also going to need to have features for businesses. So like, yes, we have. So let's say we put together a very good social media side of it. So yes, we would have clientele. Yes, we would have posts. We would have users continuously coming back. But those things are still available on Instagram for businesses. It's why would I try to go to this market when all of those same users are probably still on Instagram and Facebook and I can just keep posting like I do. So we're going to need to have some features that make it very easy for businesses to make these posts, as well as I think we're going to throw in some interesting, I think more novel features that will make it a little bit more fun for the businesses to interact with the clientele. So on the side of the users, here's how I'm going to be doing it. And I'll show you the progress I've made so far, is that I want the basic social media side of it is going to be very important. This can't just be an app where I think if the social media side isn't robust, then we're not going to have very much progress, because in the attention economy, we need people coming back. So what I was thinking about doing is I was thinking about the social media platforms that I like and how I interact with them. So starting from the baseline of we want to get to the point where users are interacting with the bars, restaurants, or whatever, and it is ultimately getting them to go to things or to essentially go out more, spend time with more friends. I think this could be great for restaurants too, by the way, of like restaurants having new events, new deals, those kinds of things. So what are going to be the things that bridge between getting people on the app and scrolling, seeing what's up with their friends, but then also incentivizing them, encouraging them to go out and want to go and interact, like go out and want to go do more things. So I like I was thinking that um, I think anonymous posting for our current audience, I think is going to be the must-have, because I think that the Yik Yak style posts of being able to tell people about the things that you wouldn't tell your parents, right? I think typically I think it's just a simple fact that when you're going out to the bars, these are things that you're not going to be telling just anybody about your experiences in these bars. And I think that that's going to align a little bit with the anonymous posts. But I also noticed that I think one of the reasons why I personally go back to Instagram sometimes, or when I'm like checking out Snapchat, seeing like what my friends are posting, is because I still want to be able to interact with my friends to some extent. I think where Yik Yak falls off a little bit is that like on Instagram, I can see the posts that my friends are liking. I can see what posts my friends on Facebook like. And even if you yourself are not making a post, there is still some interaction with the people that you know. And I think this is also very important. So the anonymity makes it, I think, sets the vibes more to the nightlife vibes that we want. And I think the that having friends on the app is going to make it a little bit more personal, and I think that that's what makes it also something that if I see that my friend clicks that they're interested in going to an event, even if I think it's just a marginal step in the right direction, even if it's not the thing that actually makes me go to the bars, at the very least, not necessarily go to the bars, just go out in general. At the very least, I can tell that my friends are wanting to go do something, and that might be just the marginal improvement that gets more people to actually go out with their friends, something like that. And that brings businesses to the bars. That's how this connects here. And then I also liked for Snapchat how when we have a private story, like there are certain things that I would like to post, but there are certain people that I wouldn't necessarily want to see that post. So I kind of like how, and also just coming back here, if I don't want my friends that are following me to get a lot of spam. Maybe if I'm doing like a vlog series or something like that, and I know most of the people who follow me aren't exactly into that, but I know some of my friends are going through and watching all of those. I kind of don't want to burden my other friends. So I think having some kind of like private story, like grouping mechanism, to be able to change the visibility is going to be important. And it's also, I think it has to be that, I think it should be whenever you add a new friend on this, you have to put them into some group or just have them as part of like your general friends, because I think it just eliminates the hassle of when you're making a new post, making a new story, of having to click through all your people, and spending like 5 minutes seeing like, oh, would this person be interested in my story? Would this person not be interested in my story? Anyways, I think those are the features that are going to get really the social media side of it down. And I think the other part where we bridge this gap here is having events. So Facebook has events where, I'm not sure if they come up in your feed, but organizations, businesses, anybody, I think anybody can just post an event. It'll come up in, I think it might come up in people's home feed. I'll have to double check that. But I think events coming up like just like any other post, you can click it to show that you're interested. You can click it to say that you're going, and you can place ratings. And I think the anonymity of it, especially for nightlife, I think having anonymous comments on these different events is, I think, going to be a game changer, especially if people are lost about what's going on like downtown, what's fun, is there a really long line outside this event. I think some anonymous comments, kind of like a live feed, I think is going to be very important for this. um yeah, and I think this is what is yeah, I think that's going to be good. And so features for businesses, essentially it's just basically going to be everything to create and manage events. I think that's where that link is between users and those events. um I was thinking that I want to see, because I've never seen this done before. I think it could be interesting, of saying that, however, basically what we could do is, if let's say I follow all of the bars and restaurants in Clemson, and I have an events list of everything going on tonight. And if I were a bar manager, I have actually had, when we had the old website, a lot of these social media managers want their events to be listed higher. And so, what if it were a simple system of, the more you pay, the higher you're ranked? It's literally an auction system. So if everybody could be paying $0, and if people pay the same amount, let's say it just randomly sorts them. If one of the bars or restaurants pays an extra dollar, they are put at the top. Just a basic auction ranking system, and maybe setting a limit, because I think there can be a balance here of making sure that events that are just like small time events, don't have very much money to get started, I want them to have a chance too. Um, I think they will have some event. You will have to ignore the voice cracks, by the way. I think if they have some chance to be able to, um, I think that because here we go. I think because people have friends, and I think that if it's a small time event, I would expect these to be mostly like the typical user wanting to put up an event, maybe for their club or for like a student organization, some production company. They want to put up an event. They have less funding than a typical bar. But I would expect that those users would have probably more of their own friends, compared to like a 40-year-old, 50-year-old bar owner who who doesn't really use the social media platform as much. And I think if they're able to share those events, I think that would be a good way for them to gain traction. I think that that's where the balance will lie. Or there could be just a minimum, like if anybody who pays less than $10, like $10 is the first amount that you can start bidding at, and then the rest of the people who are paying less, like $0, are just all randomly sorted, and that will decrease the total number of people who are ranked higher. making it a little bit more egalitarian for the ones that are ranked lower. I think we'll also, one of the things that will be very important is to be able to send notifications. So if I'm a business, and let's say it is totally dead in my bar or restaurant. Let's say it's just dead. I want to bring in more customers for the night. And I already have people that are following me. I think it'd be very, very useful for me if I were a business owner. I would want to be able to send out a notification to all the people who follow me or all the people in the area and say, hey, like, if it's dead, say like X dollar shots or something like that, and be able to just bring people in very quickly. There are some legal restrictions on how much you can decrease the value of your of alcoholic beverages, but still being able to post a deal quickly, and just anybody who's following can see that deal just instantly go in right in front of their faces, compared to like without a notification system. The way that customers have to find out about these deals is either like searching on their Instagram, having to scroll through the post, having to scroll through posts on Nightly, or having to actually go in and see what deals are out there. Not very efficient. I think being able to do notifications, as long as they're not so spammy that the users just ignore them, I think it could be great. And overall, I think analytics are going to be very important. I don't know if we're going to be able to get this feature done at this time though, but some basic ones of being able to see the number of people who said they were interested in your events, being able to see the number of people who said that they are actually going to your events, being able to see your ratings, very important. But I would like to have a feature where you can see how that's changing over time. And I think we're going to also need some kind of timeout system, so that if, let's say, a bar just has a bad night and then the ratings get tanked, there is some recoverability from that. And then also, especially if I think one of the ways that bars could use this, we have to just control for unintended consequences, is like if I were a bar and I wanted to make sure that my competitors got less business and there was more business coming to me, one way that somebody could cheat the system is by just review bombing the other business. Um, and here's the thing is, sometimes these reviews do need to persist. If there is a very legitimate safety concern, those very much need to persist. But if a bar is either being review bombed, or if they have made changes to their business to either make it more safe, more fun, something like that, I think those reviews need to be able to reflect those changes. But the that might be a problem for later. The ultimately we're just gonna have to see it put in as many of these features as we can, but I think this one's gonna be slightly lower priority though for now. So full features we're gonna go with. Everything that needs to be done now, this is pretty much the plan, is we got to have all the logic for authentication, friends, following, profiles, all of that, posts. We need a For You page with both anonymous posts and posts from your friends. Oh, this is something that I need to clarify, by the way. I'll probably put this in going back. Is so here's the progress that I've made so far. Let's open this up. Basically, just how this works. These are only the headers on the posts that I've done so far. These are all just mock data. Is if you are a friend of that person, then you can see their name on their post, right? Just like Instagram. If you are not friended with that person, it is anonymous, but you can add that person as a friend. And what increases the connection here is that the way that I'm planning to do the render logic is that you will only see the posts from your immediate friends and from your friends' friends. You're not going to get random posts from people on the other side of the world or anything like that. These are your friends and the friends of your friends. And so all the posts that you're seeing, you have at least one friend in common with that poster. What I'm hoping to be able to do with this is that if you see an anonymous post, if you see an anonymous post, that you think you would like that person, you think could be friends with that person, and you have more friends in common. Honestly, that might be somebody that I already know that I wouldn't have connected with if I didn't see that post, and I could just add that person as a friend. And I think having those mutuals in the post header, I think is going to be very important for encouraging that. Let's come back now, though, to our presentation. I thought that was very important, though, for being able to show y'all how I'm planning to do this. So this mix between anonymous posts and with friends, I think is going to be interesting. I've also put in here visibility groups. That's going to be similar to how I was saying that you can limit the amount of the friends that can see your posts, kind of like doing a Snapchat private story. I don't think that that's as necessary for right now, but I would like people to be able to add friends to their visibility groups as they go. We're also going to have all the logic for posting and making event type posts that are going to be put on by the bars and organizations. Also, we're going to have all the logic for creating and making and managing organizations. Having the auction style event ranking system is going to be important. And yeah, and being able to create and manage events, everything through the calendar. So the plan essentially is I'm going to spend as much time as possible. I will probably live stream a lot of this, and also go into Discord and talk with some of y'all that, especially those of you that know web development. And I'm going to develop as much as I can in the front end with just local mock data. So what that'll do is that'll bring me to step 2, which is going to be integrating the front end with the back end. So I'm probably either going to use Firebase or a custom backend. Firebase is going to be technically more expensive in the long run, but it's going to be very free and very cheap until we hit either 50,000 users, or if the data on this app is just getting too big, it's going to get very expensive. Custom backend is going to take way more time to set up. Probably honestly could do it with the Raspberry Pi that I have behind me, but it's just going to take more time. It's going to be complicated, and I don't want my Raspberry Pi to catch fire. I also do want to incorporate, because if I have all these social media features, there's a good chance that something just could happen. There could be some legal troubles, anything like that. I'm not too sure. A lot of these things can just be like got you lawsuits, or simple like accidental terms of service violations, anything like that. That means I'm going to have to incorporate. I'm going to have everything set up for content policies and terms of service. I want to have this all submitted to TestFlight at the very latest by the end of break, so within these 21 days. And that'll put me in a great position for doing beta testing. And if we can get through that, I think it's going straight to the App Store. But we're going to make sure overall, as I'm going through this whole process, the reason why I don't have this chunked out into specific timeframes is that there's going to be a lot of readjusting as we go. But overall, I'm looking forward to it. So for technologies, I'm using TypeScript with React Native, just write once, deploy everywhere. Very simple, I think. I'm using the Expo framework to just pretty much simplify the development process. So far, I've been using Tamagui as a great styling library. I think that's technically what it's called. They have all our components. I can set up themes, and I can set up fonts very easily. And there's a lot more features beyond that. It is a little bit difficult to use, but it does ultimately simplify a lot of different styling processes, which in my opinion, styling is just the slowest part of it, but is one of the most important. Figma, I think, has been great for just putting together and testing out new orientations of my styling very quickly. But so far, my workflow has been very much Tamagui based, so just kind of writing as much as I can in the editor. If there's something that I want to change around positions for, I'll have some fun with that in Figma. But it's just overall, I think coding it instead of creating whole designs for every single component has been just overall more straightforward. And Firebase for our backend as a service. So that's all for today, pretty much. Today, I'm going to end it off with a stand-up. So I'm going to try to get as much done on the basic posting UI. So you can see what I've done so far. I mean, I have really just the headers on the posts. I'd like to have more done, but this has been very important for figuring out the rendering logic, how I'm going to cache these posts. mentally, at the very least, having some understanding of how this is going to work. There have been a lot of adjustments made just as I have been writing these headers. I'm going to try to get as much done for the posts as possible. This means I'm going to have different types of posts for text, images, videos. I'm going to make sure that the sizing of all these posts is going to be consistent, and I'm going to have to be able to click on a post, change how the routing works whenever I click on a post, and how is that post going to render, how am I going to interact with comments, how am I going to do all these things. So overall, and I'm also going to try to stay on top of doing the videos and the live streams as much as possible. Can't live stream today, but I will start tomorrow. And as I'm going to be assessing the feasibility of a lot of these features. This is because we just have a lot to do over the next 21 days. And honestly, there are just going to have to be some things that are exciting, but I'm going to have to cut out in order to make these deadlines. But overall, as we iterate, we'll probably find out that some of the features that I did keep in weren't very important, and some of the features that I did take out are going to be very important. And that's the whole point of beta testing, and that's the whole point of iteration. So overall, that is the plan for this. And I'm just going to keep up with these. It's, I think, a great personal log. And for the other people who are helping on this project, who are also interested in startups, I think that this is something that at least I would personally watch if I were a freshman just getting started out. I would have watched these if there was a junior doing this. So anyways, that's it. That's my plan so far. And I will keep y'all updated with another video tomorrow, probably just a few minutes. Yeah. See y'all later.